Hello and welcome to Petrol and Paint. I'm Karen Gilmore and today we're going to tackle something a little bit different. I'll show you my reference photo, and it's a Christmas lights across the harbour in St Ives, and it's an evening painting which we're going to do in watercolour. So let me see if I can show you that without the light hitting the screen too much. So what we've got here is we're going to pick a value for the sky and make that a little bit more, a little less depth of colour in it than the sea. And we've got the light reflecting down there onto the harbour, and the moon, which is out, coming straight down here at the end of Smeaton's Pier. So this will be quite an interesting one to do, and we'll see how it turns out. What I've done already is I've drawn it up onto the pad, because that's always like a boring bit to watch. I've used a little bit of masking tape, and I've masked out a little area for that bit of the sun, for that white bit at the very back, for a little bit here along the pier and down there. I've put a little bit of masking tape there, and those couple of little bits there, because I want to keep those as light as I can. The rest of the sort of moonlight on the harbour here, I'm probably going to add on afterwards with a little bit of white gouache. So I'll attach, if I can, a photo of this to the video at the end, so that you've got this as well. So this is my paper down here, which is the Arches cold pressed 300 grams, 140 pounds. I've put masking tape around the edges. That's my moon even is masked out there. Bit of masking tape there, as I said, down here, bit here, bit there, there and there. Okay, the rest of the get it the right way up. The rest of the light bits, I'm going to either remove them once I've done the main colour wash there, and then we're going to add those in as extras afterwards. Alright, so let's get started on this. I'm going to, for my sky, use a very sort of like a midnighty green. I think works really well with the evening sky. We do have some clouds which we can see through up there, so once I put the wash on, I'm going to remove those with some kitchen roll or a brush. Let's see how it goes. So first of all, I'm going to mix up the colour that I want. What are we going to use today? We will use, in my very clean paint palette, as you can see, I'm going to use some Viridian, because that's the kind of depth of colour that I want up there. I want that sort of green, midnight green. I'm going to put some dark blue, and yeah, obviously you can use whatever colours you want to choose, it's just these are the ones that I'm using. So that's a nice dark blue for that. And then to that, first of all, I'm going to do like a low wash across the top there, and then I'm going to work up the paper. Now I have got a slight tilt on this, it's not a massive tilt, just so that the colours can run into each other, but I'm going to start the opposite way around, and because of the way I'm going to do this, hopefully I won't lose my position. I will just have a little check, as I'm going to do this upside down because I just want to keep a check. Oh, there you go, you can still see it all. I want it to run this way, and I like working from the top to the bottom. So just going to turn the whole thing upside down. What have you done with your brush, Karen? Oh, there it is. Right, so let's get started on this. I'm going to wash my brush out, and I'm going to pre-wet the paper along here. I'm not really that fussed whether it goes over some of these buildings because this colour I kind of want to continue through. So because I've just washed my brush, actually the water I'm using is it's coming out a really nice colour, which is perfect. So I'm going to pop that on there because this is like, the sky is almost like the mid-tones on this to me. I've got the masking tape around the outside. This Arches is on a block pad, but it also has tape around it, and I've only got tape around it really. It's not really for the stretching purposes, but it's for it's to just have that nice finish to it really, as much as anything. So there we go. And like that going into there doesn't really matter. I can put a little bit of that in there anyway because it's nice to have it going through. So this is the first wash, so you can kind of put this as dark as you like really. Most of it's going to vanish. Now, I don't actually want to leave any white in the sky for this, so I'm just going to load a bit more of it on there. And then as we're going down a little bit, what I'm going to do, it gets to me a little bit darker over here because this is farther away from the moonlight. I'm going to add a little bit of neutral tint to it now. And there we go. Add some of that. Bit more Viridian. I just want to intensify it a little bit. Okay, nice. And then what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to whack it around the other way. So I'm just going to pop all this in. Here we go. Excuse me, sorry, that's Payne's Grey out there, not neutral tint. I'm going to pop a load of that in there. And like I said, this can go on any old way at the moment, it doesn't really matter. The darkest bit is up here at the top, so I'm going to put neutral tint like raw from the from my pot, and I'm going to whack Viridian right over the top of it like that. Oh, you have a hair, we'll get rid of that in a minute. Okay, I'm going to turn it the other way up. Well, actually, before I do that, I'm just going to put a really dark whack of that up there, at the very top. So, to work quick with this, turn that up the other way now. I'll have a quick check to make sure everything's still viewable. So you can make sure you can see it all. There we go. I'll put it that way a little bit, okay. There we are. I think that's all sort of viewable. So you can see that the wet runs into itself and it just does its own thing, and that's the bit of watercolour that we want to keep. So we want to keep that nice and fresh. There are some clouds at the top, so like I said, clouds don't really have dark patches, but you can remove. I'm going to use a synthetic brush, or let's use a stiffer watercolour brush, just for removing a little bit of colour from up here, because as long as it's wet you can still work with it. So you can dab away at it, remove a little bit for your clouds. Make sure it's a clean bit that you're using each time. And look at where you're going to have your clouds. So this is my moonlight here. There we go. Take a bit of that off. Take that off. And I'm turning the paper each time I'm using it, otherwise you might start printing things that you didn't intend to onto your painting. Okay, remove that from a little bit of it from here. There we go. Nice. Doesn't have to look exactly, obviously. Your photograph or whatever you're using is just reference. It has a lovely little strip which I really like. Let me show you the photo again in a minute. So it has a little strip of clouds across there which I really like, and it's obviously the clouds are not as bright there because the moon's highlighting them and lighting them up, so you fade off, and then we've got that little strip across there. So to do that little strip, I'm going to get a thin bit of kitchen roll, paper towel, whatever you've got, roll it up like that, and I'm going to dab that on, and it just lifts that. Can you see? It looks a little bit artificial and rolledy there, so I'm just going to soften the edges in certain places. Remember to keep rolling that towel so you're not putting any dirty bits. Anything else surface debris wise, if it's not going to hurt, you can leave it until the painting's dry. That's it there. And then still want to do a few more out bits from down here. Take some clouds out. And like I said, it's going to change as it dries this, and this is the first wash. So get a few bits off there. There we go. Just soften the edge of those because the lightest bits of these are going to be up here. I can always add in and tone down some of these afterwards, but I'd rather do it, to be honest, in one hit. Do it now. There we go. I think that's enough on the cloud front. So while it's still wet, I'm going to bring some colour down into the water. I don't want it to be as dark as it is in my reference photo because I don't just want this to be like a black picture. My reference photo wasn't like that to me at the time, so always bear that in mind. So for the water down the bottom, I'm going to use there we go, a watercolour brush, and this is called a Sapphire 3/4 inch 19mm S21. Okay, so this is like a one stroke wash brush, so I'm going to use this for all down the bottom bit. So to start off, I'm going to put the same colours I've just used, which is Viridian, this dark blue. I don't know if it's a phthalo blue or not quite sure what blue it is. It's a dark blue anyway. Down there like that, and then I'm going to pop a little bit of that in my tray next door, and I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna. It doesn't look very burnt sienna, and I'm going to add a little bit of that just to make it slightly redder. So I'm just going to roll some of this in here to go along, because this is my buildings and I kind of still want them to be part of, don't want them to be too much of a hard line, so I want them to go into that sky a little bit before it's completely bone dry. I can see like a little band across there, so that's where that's going to go. Okay, and across the harbour there, across the pier. There, we're going to put that on. So the idea of this is so it does blend into the sky a little bit. That's what I want this to do. Okay, and you've got the end of the pier. There we go. This is a lot redder on my photo, but I'm going to mess around with that afterwards. I just want to put in the key lines to what I'm working with there, and that's the harbour wall, and then we've got the wharf going across there. Okay, so now we come into the water, and I'm going to bring this colour here also just down into the water like that. And like I said, it's watercolour, work quickly with it because you don't want it to be too artificial. All the time I'm just having a little check in to see what's going on with the other bits. Do I really want to, do I want that cloud to be so evident? Yeah, maybe not quite so, maybe a little bit more. I'm just going to lift off a little bit more there, so if you, as long as it's wet, like I said, you can still work with it. I'm going to slightly soften that skyline there as well by dabbing it a little bit. There we go, that's nice, that's what I wanted. Okay, so into R, I'm using a quite a big sable here, number 12 sable, just to mix up my colours and put these initial strokes in. So I want this to be like a cohesive colour, so we're going to put the viridian down from the sky into the water. Even if it's not there, I don't care, it's my painting, so that's the way I want it to look. So I'm going to put a few strips of that down, thin ones, thick ones, whatever. There we go. Okay, and that's going to come down there. It's also going to come from the edge of my moon light on the water. So any really highlighty bits that I need to add in afterwards, I'm quite happy to do that with white gouache or whatever's needed. I quite like doing that. That's one of my favourite bits of the painting, actually. I'm not a purist watercolour, so I don't really think it matters what you use. It's your results, and when people say, oh, you're not allowed to do that, then why are you not allowed to do that? There's no law on this sort of thing. So anyway, stop moaning, Kevin. Bit more viridian, bit more dark blue. I think it's either phthalo or Indian Athen blue, I'm not quite sure, I can't remember. Should really make a note before I do these things, but hey ho. So I'm going to add a bit more colour to that because I want that out there. Darker, darker, darker. So the whole idea of this is it's an impression of what you're seeing. It's not a finished item as such. Like I said before, we don't want a replacement photo. Well, some people might, personally I don't really. So now we're going to use Payne's Grey, which is one of my favourite colours ever. I'm going to whack that on there, pure from the straight from my paint pot. Big old bits of that. There we go. Nice. So this is, I'm just putting this on a lot thicker, as you can see. I'm going to whack a little bit more viridian into the mix there because I want that colour to bleed right through. Okay, so it's, my darkest values are along here and here, so I'm going to whack a load of those colours in a minute. I'm now going to use, like I said, the big wash brush, and we're just going to get a load of that in there. Okay, let's paint this up quickly. This is like a race. See if see how quickly we can get these colours down on here. Okay, so I want this really nice and thick there. When I'm looking at the reference photo, I'm kind of looking all the time to think, do I need to add more? I'm not going to add more to the sky, but I can always add more to the sea at the moment because the sky is now drying off nicely. I'm going to look here because, hey, this is where the reflections come down. This is what made me take the reference photo and think, oh, that'd be quite an interesting or challenging to paint, because it's good to do that. Get stuck in doing the same things all the time. So this is neutral tint now that I'm whacking on top right into this last boundary line out here, and I want this to be dark down here. I need to get some more of those Viridian. This is why my paint pot is so filthy. There's a big dark bit down there between the two highlighted bits, so let's get that in. It's a big broad. Let's get that in. That's, if I squint, I can see where the darkest areas are. There's one down there, there's one next to it actually. I'm trying to see where I've put the tape. I can't always tell, because quite good to get a different colour tape, to be honest. A few strips like this. I'm still going to keep working that while it's wet. So where I've put that bit there, that's really light, and to the other side of where it's the tape finishes, where my light bit is a really dark bit. So let's get those stripes in. And they're quite, even though they're made by like man-made lights and stuff, they actually look quite organic when they're all up here together like this. So I'm just going to put this line. This is like my bottom line of the key, which is actually really quite dark. There we go. That'll do for that. It's dark just under where that light bit is, and the other bit at the end I'll deal with later. And this bit here is quite dark as well. And we've got some dark bits going up into the buildings. Okay, so this is the end of the pier, and then we've got the little bit there. That's fine. You can see where the tape is there because it's just resisted the paint, which is fabulous because that's what it's supposed to do. Let's hope it actually does it. I might take this off and this will be like rubbish at the end. Hope not. So I'm going to put some of these like beautiful big directional lines on this because it's painting. Let's see the brushes. Let's see the brush marks. And it goes up here a little bit. So I'm dry brushing some of this on as well. So dry brushing is just basically the paint straight from the pot with no water on it. So the water, you can see it moving and it arcs around here like this, which is lovely. Right, so let's make sure our dark bits are dark enough, shall we? Dark, dark, dark coming in. The darkest darks and the lightest lights are coming from that that moonlight, the other side of the moonlight. Got a nice dark strip. If I squint, and that comes all the way down, right to the bottom, like that. Nice. And then our dark comes up, it's like that, right up, right in there, up to that line there. Nice. So I do talk to myself an awful lot when I'm painting. I forget I'm filming. There we go. Okay. It's even darker down there. I haven't got any actual black, so I'm using Payne's grey. If I had black, black would be on there, but I haven't stopped myself using it because I do like these dark colours. Look at that. Nice. So guys, I need this to dry a little bit at the moment, so I'm going to leave that like that for now. Try to leave that like that for now. Hopefully I won't change anything too much, and we'll give that half an hour and come back and have another look at it. See you soon. Welcome back to part 2. We are back with it's all kind of dried off a little bit now. What I've done off camera is I've removed the masking tape, so you can now quite evidently see the areas that were masked. Here, down here, and just at the end there. Okay. Also, what I've done is I was just messing around and slightly blending in the edges of some of these more distant clouds while I was waiting for the rest of it to dry off. I don't think I've done anything else. What else did I do? Lifted a little bit of paint just around the edges off, and that's just putting a wet brush into the wet paint before it dried off and just dabbing it with a clean bit of towel. That just lifted a little bit of the colour, same as what we were doing earlier on up here with the clouds. I'll give you another look at the reference photo so you can see where we're at. I've also done a little strip there for the sort of sun gleam, keep calling it sun, moonlight. Okay, so that's me reference, and here we are with what we have. What we're going to do now then, we're going to just soften some of these edges where the tapes come off and put in a little bit of stuff along here, I think. And we'll put in a little bit of the distant headland of, because you can see Hale across the IVES Bay there, and then we'll start dropping in some colour for the reflections. So let's crack on and do that bit. I'm hoping, try not to put my head in the shot, so if I have done that, I apologise in advance, or if I do it, I apologise in advance. Let's have a little look. It's quite hard to see this, to be honest. I'm going to just put in a little bit of yellow ochre and burnt sienna just into the pier there. I've just brought that up a little bit bigger on my reference, and maybe a little bit into the buildings. So for the pier and the buildings, I'm going to use this little flat brush, and this is actually a little acrylic brush. It's just a nice little square one. I quite like this because for buildings and like the pier and stuff, they have that very straight edge to them. So let's get a little bit of yellow ochre mixed in there. So I'm keeping a little bit of like the original. I'm not cleaning my palette, but what I have done is I've changed my water, and I've thrown away all my little bits of kitchen roll that I could possibly pick up by mistake at some stage, because I don't want to contaminate some of these really bright colours when we drop these in a bit. So just looking at my reference there, I'm going to drop some yellow ochre into this mix and have that just lighten that down a little bit, because there is that there, and I'm actually going to put that straight on because I want this to be quite strong in places. I'm going to put a little bit of gold into this as well because it's proper glowing on the end of the pier there, which is really nice. So that again, just going to mix. The reason I'm not just a lazy painter, but one of the reasons why I am a bit of a lazy painter, I don't clean my palette, my paint palette, is if you use straight colours, they can look a little bit artificial, and having a little bit of muck, that's all I can call it really, on your palette from paintings that you did before or ones that you've just started now, neutralises the colour a little bit and just stops it, the colours being so brassy. It's not everyone's cup of tea, and obviously everyone paints differently, but it's just the way that I do it. I don't think there's a right and wrong way of doing anything. It's kind of just what you do. But yeah, that's why I don't clean my palette every time. I quite like to have a little bit of colour contamination. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going around the edges of some of these white bits of tape that I've pulled up, that have just left the pure paper, because if you can see, yeah, there are some quite white, very light bits there, here and along here, but I just don't want it to have a look like it's just, oh yeah, that's you know, just where tape's been. Even though they're very bright, they're not hard edges, they're soft, because brightness is from the light that's emanating, like little clusters of light in that area. And there's one that I've kind of put a bit too much stuff into just down here, so I'm just going to lift that off with my kitchen towel. And like I said, if I need to, I will use a bit of white paint afterwards for certain bits, and like I said, I like doing that, so there you go. Right, let's have a little bit of burnt sienna into that mix, and that's going to come slightly further along the pier there. Just stops it being too much of a bleak dark picture, because yes, it is the winter, but do we need it to be bleak? Probably not. Okay, and just down underneath this building is a little bit of the sand that you can see there, so where that goes across there, I'm going to drop that burnt sienna just onto it. Okay, so this here is like a blob, so I need some stripes up into it, because that's what it actually looks like when you look up close. Okay, it's just light glowing. I don't know quite how I'm going to get those really light bulbs yet, but we'll have a play with that. That's part of this process. It's quite exciting to do. Okay, so some of these places here, a little bit of this comes down. I'm going to bring that down into the light bit there. And like I said, on this bit here, just don't want that edge to be quite that hard. Because the sea's moving, it's not really that static. Let's have a little look over here while we're doing that as well. And this bit over here. So I'm literally dry brushing some of the pre-existing colour. Well, it's not really dry brushing, but anyway, I'm just blending it a little bit on the edges there. I want to put in a bit of that headland over there, so that's a long way off. I'm going to just mix a little bit of violet into what I've got here, so it's distance, it's in the distance, and we can see that it's slightly over the top there, so let's just put that in the background. There it is. There you are, that's hail. I'm going to leave that line like that because that's absolutely fine, I quite like that. And I'm just going to blend it over there because it then all becomes one and you can't see the definition as much then. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to do the same. I think you can hear it all right here. Just going to do the same down here. So I've got that quite that harsh line, and I am going to infill some white moonlight down there because that's what I'll do afterwards. Just getting rid of some of these really strong edges because I don't want those in my mix. Light bits down there, can leave those like that, that's fine. See those, that's fine. Right, so I'm going to do a few little bits of definition here now with these buildings. So obviously, you know, there's lots of houses and bits and pieces. This is where these brushes are really good. Got that one there in the corner. It goes up like that. It has that little bit on the top. There's a few houses that are very distinct in St Ives. So I always think it's really important to get those spot on. The others can just be outlines, it's fine. That's the Harbour Master's office there, is quite lit up. They're going on to the pier. And the key house here is actually quite dark for a change. It's normally one of the most evident buildings, but I'm going to lift a little bit of colour off of the side of it there because it's not the most obvious, but everyone knows where it is, so let's have it there. And then next to the key house we have the 3 little cottages that sit on the beach. So let's just put those in place. There we go. The rest can just do its own thing in the background, that's fine. There we are. So I just don't want everything to be too definite there. Okay, but we're still keeping the really light bits nice and light. There we go. Marvellous. Let's put the roof on those little ones. They come down here below the key house roof line, then you have the flats behind. Chimneys everywhere. Okay, so that's fine for that for the moment. So a little look here. So my focal points, where are my focal points going to be? They're going to be here at the end of the pier. The lights are kind of like the main bit really, so I really want to get those right. I might have to, I don't normally do this another day, but I might have to actually come back and re-look at those lights. So this may be a 3-part painting. You never know. Right, soften this line a minute because it's quite hard. Nothing in the water is that hard. So I just dropped some colour in because I quite feel like doing that now. I'm going to use the same brush. My lightest bit on here is the white, obviously, from that there. That's bringing a lot of light down. I need to get rid of some of this. This has gone over too far, so let's lift some of that off. So wet it, scrub it. This paper can take a bit of scrubbing. It's quite durable. Ooh, hopefully I haven't moved that too much. I think you can still see it alright. So that's got to obviously reflect down from what's above it. Take a bit more of that away, Karen. There you go. Get rid of that really hard line there as well. I tried to do this on an iPad, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem it's portable. I quite like using my phone. I'm sure it's not very good for my eyes, and actually I should put my glasses on, but there we go. Okay, got any other really hard lines? Just around the edge of this one a wee bit. This is why I ruin all my brushes. Get brutalised by painting them the wrong way. Take a little bit of that in there as well. While we're doing it, we'll lift off a little bit of that for the you can make these strokes work really, really well. So wet the paper, dab it off, there you go. If we get lots of barking or stuff going on here, I do apologise, but I've got a lot of dogs, as I said before, and they obviously wait for me to film before they bark or make noises or drink very loudly from the bowl that's right opposite me. Just gonna lighten that there, take that down a bit. Okay. I'm just taking away the paint where it's lighter above, because obviously that's what's reflecting into the water. It's quite nice, I like doing that. trying to go mad and do it too much. I can lay some more dark back into there afterwards. Okay, so that's the white bit there, so that can stay white. I'll add some moonlight to that later. So we've got a really strong yellow there, so I'm going to use a really bright lemon yellow with a bit of Naples yellow in the mix. And we're going to, actually, the very centre of this here looks kind of quite yellow, and it is proper yellow. There we are. So I'm just going to close the back door because it's raining and the dogs have just come in. And I can pick up my glasses while I'm at it. So that's like a really bright acidic yellow. So I don't want that just to be in one spot. I'm going to put a little bit of that there. There's a little bit of yellow coming down from these ones. And also there's a bit of yellow in those flat windows there. So I just want this to resonate a little bit more through the actual buildings as well, because we've got a bit of light going on there. People have got lights on in their windows. These are our Christmas lights in St Ives, and obviously when it's Christmas, lots of people leave their curtains open because they have their Christmas trees and things up, which are nice for people passing by to see. You can have a proper nose and see what people's decor is like inside. It's quite interesting. So just along here, this bit of the pier, I'm just putting some, I hope I haven't got my head under the camera again. I'm just trying to get a bit closer to see what's going on. There we go. Just want that to be that lovely gold along there. And then I'm going to float a bit of that into here, because it's not just that acid yellow, it's also got some gold running through it and reflecting in it. And as it comes down here, it goes darker, but it keeps going, which is why I lifted off some of that paint. So you drop it in. As it goes down, it still keeps going. There we are. Dropping some of that into there as well. I try and do the colours where I see them. And I'm going to just pop a bit of the colour up above where I'm putting it in. So these here, quite glowing white to me, but hey ho, there is that colour there. And these are like really strong compared to everything else, so if there's a bit of colour there, I'm going to slam it in. They're coming down like this, and as they're coming down, they're then moving out. That colour, that peachy one, like these, are keeping its tone all the way through, right down to the bottom. So you can have some of those down here as well. So when I'm doing this down here, I'm literally just putting it, dry brushing it from the tube down there. There's a lovely bit going through there. There we go. A nice wide bit coming through here. Proper orange. There we go. Nice. Now I'm going to mix a bit more yellow with that. That's a bit of cad yellow with it. Because I want it to look painty, I don't want it to look, like I said, like I want you to see people to see the brush marks. A A lot of people will only blend with watercolours, but you know, everyone has their own techniques and ways of doing it. Have fun with it, you know, this should look like you're having fun. It shouldn't look like it's too laboured. I'm going to splash some colour down here because where it's breaking up down the bottom, there are a few little dots. So I'm going to get my brush, I'm going to get the paint straight from the tube, straight from the palette, from the half pan, and whack it in. So there's a few gold bits up here as well going on. Obviously the sand is up there too. Paint that in. But it doesn't have to be too detailed because that is actually not my focal point at all. The bits I want to work on afterwards are going to be this bit of the pier. And that bit of the pier there, it's got a little line running down there, also down there. Okay. Boats and things I'm going to put in at the end because there are a few boats there. A lot of boats come out of the harbour for the summer, and there's a beautiful bit of cobalt turquoise as well, and that's coming from here. I want to use this as strong as I can use it. And this kind of edges along here like this. It fades a little bit as it goes. There we are. I can drop a bit more of that in afterwards. There's a little bit of that on the edge of these bright lights there. These are the lights around the quay house. There's a few of those there on the harbour as well. There we go. And there's some of them down here as well. I'm going to dot those on there now. So this beautiful colours come down here. I don't know if I'm going to quite get that whole colour in with colours here. I'm going to put a bit of that there. I'm going to put a bit of it there. Like I said, it might not be the exact colours that I'm seeing for the lights because I don't actually have that range of colours in my palette anywhere. These are very unique. I don't have a fluorescent green, so let's see what we can do. I'm going to put some green in, but it'll be a bit tricky to get that, methinks. Let's put that in. It's quite a strange colour to have. It also, it's actually lighting up the building over here, that green. And obviously then it goes down into the water. Some beautiful colours here. Might be an idea to do this in acrylics because you can just get that ridiculously strong colour. There's some amazing violets, which again, I don't think you're going to get the exact colour blend from the paint that we've got. Never mind. We will do our best. Okay, so let's get some of that lovely violet in. needs to be lighter to show that it's violet. So we just put a whole mix of colours in here now. That's a proper mixed bag, isn't it? It's also in there. Pop that in there. Nice. There's also a little bit over there, which is handy, quite close to the green. It doesn't look anywhere near as intense on the pier as it does on the water. So I'm just dabbing this a little bit, so breaking up those lines a little bit with the movement of the water. So the whole thing doesn't look too fixed. I haven't put the lighthouse in yet because I'm going to put that in afterwards. Let's have a little look at where we're at with this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my brush to a finer brush. I'm going to get my gouache and we're going to pop in. We're going to work a little bit on some of the detail on the pier. So I've got a synthetic brush now. Actually, before I use that one, I'm going to use a slightly thicker one because I'm quite prone to faffing. So I have a little number 3 sable, and it's just a pointy, and I'm just going to put in, I'm going to use a little bit of Payne's Grey. I'm just going to re-wet this bit over here that I was working on before. Okay, and I'm just going to put in a little bit of stuff. Okay, so this is like a little bit of pier furniture, we call it. So there's just a little bit of definition that, you know, there's a little bit of stuff going on. Because that's the Harbour Master's office there. Okay. And as we come down at the pier, which is here, we've got the 3 arches, so I'm just going to put those in because I know that they're there. I always say to people, paint what you see, not what you know, and then go and paint what I know, not what I can see. Right, I'm going to do the bottom of the pier in a minute because that's kind of just bugging me that that's not quite in there yet. So this is the side of the pier, side wall of the pier. The tide's in quite high, so it's not like it's not like massive. So when the tide's out, obviously, it's going to be a lot bigger. Now I'm just brushing that just with a dark mix. That'll do for that. And the pier just goes up to a point. Just goes up there. Okay, so that's the complete shenanigans there. That's my key house. This is roof. This is side bit. Put in some window bits afterwards in a slightly paler value. Okay, so now up here's got a little bit more form to it, and then we're going to put a little bit of pier, like I said, a bit of pier furniture. So there's always stuff on the pier. The very bright bits here, this is the old lighthouse, the original lighthouse that is on Smeaton's Pier, and that's all well lit up for their Christmas. I'm just going to define it a little bit because you know, it's kind of quite an important bit. And then where those lights are there, it's just a bit of stuff underneath. People's cars park all the way along there. Okay, just doing these quite regular intervals for these. That I can't see anything behind it because it's so bright. It's be lights or some sort of display right across the top. And then there's loads of gear along here. And then the lights kind of continue regular intervals. Let's fit that in, never mind. And these ones here are like extra ones, so I don't know. Just go down there. And like I said, there's always loads of stuff all over the pier, so let's put some bits in. Then we've got the base of the lighthouse. So the lighthouse is, from this view, the lighthouse is pretty close to the edge. Base of it's there. Okay, and you can just about on this see the railings very faintly. So I'm just hinting that there's stuff there, okay? There's always people, no matter what time of year. Someone down there having a little ponder, thinking about life, the universe, how wonderful it would be to live in St. Ives. Okay, that's the end of the pier there. And then you get little ladders going down like that as well, so people can get down to their boats if they're not. There's also steps down here, but you can't really see them on this, so I'm not too worried about where exactly they are. It just gives a little bit of something, doesn't it? Because I don't want it just to be sort of like I don't want it just to be all one, just like no definition at all. So while we're on that kind of middle ground, I'm going to put a little bit of that also onto these houses here. Let's have a little look. So we can roughly see, I know exactly how many windows the key house has after painting it so many times. And then you've got the flats behind up there. You have the little cottages, and here on the beach with their windows and doors and everything else. So I'm only going to do those roughly, doesn't really matter. Then I've got windows in the other buildings. Just put those in as a bit of a, you know, so we're aware that they are actually houses. Blend that in a little bit, I was a bit harsh. I don't think, to be honest, we need a huge amount more than that on those. Right, now I'm going to put a little bit more detail in certain bits. So where do I want my focal point to be? I want it to be here, because this is my lightest light, my darkest darks. So I want the end of the key, the end of the here, quite well defined. So I'm going to make my little person a little bit darker while they're there having their thought moment. I'm going to make that really nice and dark, because that's where the lightest bits are. And there's little bits of say pier furniture there, because tie your boats up there. It's where they do the trips in the summer. Get on there, a trip to Seal Island, or wherever else you want to go for that matter. So the lighthouse itself, ironically, even though we know it's white, it's actually like a yellowy colour because of the lights that are everywhere shining onto it. So I'm going to paint the lighthouse in a really bizarre colour, because that's what it looks like. And it's got a like green weird glowing light from it, which I don't think I'm going to actually put in, because I don't think that adds anything there to the picture. Put a rail around it. God, I used to paint hundreds of lighthouses when I was a kid. My dad used to work for the Trinity House and after all the lighthouses, and used to bring home, used to have like a monthly magazine which used to show all the lighthouses around the country and lightships and stuff. Used to be fascinated with them. Right, so we're going to put a little bit of this gold here now into the sea, because that's what I can see. See. There we are. Just putting some of this in here, because this is the fun bit for me now, because I love putting highlights in. I really do. This to me makes a picture. I haven't actually used any gouache yet. This is Naples yellow is really good for this. It kind of comes with its own, it's like an opaque, and it's great for using for highlighting bits and pieces. So you're kind of, doesn't matter what is actually there. What you're doing is you're suggesting what might be there. So for me, like these little marks are the windscreens of the cars that are parked there. Why people would want to park on the pier in winter, kind of a bit beyond me, but hey ho. You get really bad weather, and sea salt and motor vehicles don't really go that well together, do they? But what do I know? So just going to put a few light bits up here as well in the buildings. A few little bits along there just to show, ooh, look, stuff goes on there. There we are. That bit up there of the beach is actually quite well highlighted, so I think it's just like, it's only on that side. It's just the reflection bouncing off. Over the walls there. And then you can't see anything there. You see a few bits coming down here. There we go. I think it's starting to take a little bit of shape now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of white gouache to my palette over there, and with the brush that I've still got, I don't want to go too small yet, I'm just going to work some of the top bits of the waves and drop in a little bit of white where I think it needs to be. So I have now a synthetic brush, and this is a 0. I like the synthetic brushes for this because they just seem to hold, they've got a nice little bit of spring to them. So I'm going to look for areas that I feel kind of glow a little bit, and I'm going to use the white gouache to increase that glow and blend over the top and bleed out. And between each time I do it, I'm going to make sure, I have to keep drying my brush to make sure I've got not too much water up the brush that's going to drip onto the end. I'm going to just highlight areas now where I can see more white. So whether they be the windows of like the flats there that are, you know, people have got their lights on because it's evening time. There's one there that's quite well lit up. Yeah, how many years actually lived in there all year round. There we go. Really bright light there. That one on. This is really bright, but to be honest, I don't want it that bright, so I'm just going to put a bit there to break up that green, a bit there to break up that purple, a bit underneath there, down here. That's the wharf there, so stuff goes on, so I'm just going to do a few little marks there. Okay. It's a little bit that comes down there, not that much. A bit comes down here. So this is just giving that little bit of definition and stopping these just being like blobs. Do you know what I mean? Not them. I don't want them just to be blobs of colour. I want it to look like this is the shoreline. It always seems to be a bit whiter. It's not really, I wouldn't say it's like wavy, but it's not a huge amount of light coming from the key house itself. It does have little beady lights like going across there, so I'm just going to put those in because I can actually see those like that. water, I'm going to put those so that they look similar, and I'm just going to drag them down with my finger. There we go. There's a few little weird white things there, I don't know what they are. So I'm going to put some lightness here, because I can see that. And where this house comes down, that's in there. So what's quite nice about this is the watercolour, the paint that I've chosen underneath blends into it now. So it's picking up the colour of the paint underneath and giving a little bit of definition there. Some of my little weird crazy straight lines I'm going to leave because I actually quite like them. So a little look here. See, it like melds in. So it may look quite strong now that I'm putting it on, but it soon kind of loses a bit of that definition. Okay, so I'm looking all the time at what I'm doing. I'm not just taking for granted that I know where everything is. There's quite a bright bit of light there. So that's almost like a little ball of light, and it's not a ball of light, but that's what it looks like. So I'm going to just put that on as a dot there. So that's what it looks like to me. And then where this goes down, it does this like a zigzaggy thing, and because this bit here in my mind is quite bright, I am sort of putting it on a little bit thicker, a little bit neater here. And you can see where I've got, well, you might not be able to see, but underneath here I've got the turquoise, so I'm going to highlight it with this this gouache here now, so that they kind of join up. And then the gold colour that's there, actually some inks would look really nice on this. I do have some inks there, I might faff afterwards with some inks. Like I said, I'll put on whatever I feel like I need to put on. Where that there is really definite, I just blend that a little bit. Like I said, I quite like some of the definition of the brushwork from before. So we're carrying on going along the harbour here, from here in. It's actually quite bright lights, and those go up into the air like that. Bright, those ones, and then we have lots of little dots going along. I'll have to put a bit more paint on there in a minute. So these are like string lights, various colours, and then we have ball lights. That's not what they are, on the top. These are actually just the normal lights, but I know that's not what they're called. Bit more paint there, methinks. So for the first half or 3/4 of my painting, when I'm painting, I hate it and I want to throw it in the bin. It's only sort of, it's only as it moves along when it starts to take a bit of shape, a bit of form. I think actually it's not too bad. Am I ever 100% happy with it? Probably not. You know, hey ho. I believe that's one of my dogs drinking, by the way. We haven't got a leak. Normally I would paint in the studio, but I'm painting at my kitchen table, which is like the worst place ever to paint when you've got 6 dogs, because you're just asking for trouble. So instead of putting that green light on there, I've decided to, now I'm going to put some white highlights on some of the IKEA furniture here, because like I said, I want this to be more of a focal point. And that's why I've put that bit there. I didn't want that to be green, just didn't feel the love for the green on the light. So I'm just slightly brushing a little bit of definition to side of the pier, just so it's not just a big flat lumpy thing. Can't remember what I was talking about just now. Gone off track, haven't I? Oh yeah, normally I paint up in my studio, but it's been so cold that I've moved in to the kitchen for a little bit until it warms up, because obviously all the heating bills, everything else has gone up so much that I dread to think how much I would have to cost for me to heat that up at the moment. So in the very, very, very distance over in Hale, I can see some lights, and I'm going to put them in so that it gives more of an emphasis that actually this is the evening. There's lights glowing, you know, over on the Towans there, and back further into Hale. Just gives a little bit of nice stuff going on there. Right, so where these lights come down now, we're gonna have some of that on the water. Lighter at the top, lens down, so it goes down a bit. So this moonlight that's coming down, I haven't looked up there at that bit yet. I might just leave that like it is, to be fair. Just getting some of this stuff going on. It's just going to be a little bit more contrast here on this bit. So it's really important just to make your marks quite interesting and make those different, because if you have the same mark all over your painting, it would be really boring, I think. So it's nice to use different brushes, get different lines, different marks, make it interesting for anyone looking at it. This is like scumbling, I believe they call it. I don't really actually read art books or art techniques, so I might make up my own names for things. And people go, no, that's not what it's called. But hey ho. So this moonlight here on the water, it's lovely. Even without the Christmas lights, this would have just been quite nice. Christmas lights just made it look a little bit more snazzy. I do like a bit of white gouache. I don't know whether it's right or wrong really, but I think if you like what you're doing, then maybe other people will like it too. And you know, obviously, well, not obviously, I've been painting since I was a kid. Studied at Falmouth, had my own gallery in St Ives, was down there for town for 22 years. So I've sold thousands of paintings over the years, all over the world. So I have quite a few collectors that buy my work. Go down to into St Ives. You can find Island Road on the way up to the island where the St Nicholas's Chapel's up the top. You'll find a little gallery on the corner called Art House, and they have my all my St Ives paintings in there. I keep re-going over these ones because it's quite bright there. I think that gives quite a nice effect, doesn't it? I just need to soften up now some of these edges along here, I think. I don't know, yeah, I think it just comes up here, string lights that go along here. These ones are all those funky colours. So, theoretically, as long as I funky colour those lights afterwards the same colour as those, we're in business. So the edges, where it was just a hard line, all I'm doing now is just doing a little bit of wiggly wiggly, just so our eye sees that as a bit of movement where the water moves. And like I said, I'm doing it quite strong white without really much water in the mix. Do a few little lines going that way that marry up with these. Okay, so let's have a little look and see how we're doing. I think this one might be taking me a little bit longer because even though it looks like quite a simple painting, it's actually quite there's quite a lot of colour on it, or there's quite a lot of paint on it. So stage now, which is the stage I always get to, stripping it back so that you can get a bit of definition. It's taking a little bit longer. So I want this to have this really nice flow to it, and it's going to kind of come down here. So the white that I've got left on here now, I'm going to just edge into some really nice patterns down here. And now I don't want to faff too much with this brush, which is what I'm starting to do. So I'm going to put a little bit more white on, because I do need a little bit more white. I might have a little bit of my clouds as well, I don't know yet. I'll have a look at that afterwards. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my new favourite toy, dun, 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 my sword liner, which is kind of a weird thing that looks like this. So this little nifty number, I'm going to play around and put a little bit of highlights in the water down here with this. What's quite nice is you can get all these lovely marks because you've got the thin bit and the thick bit. So what fun you can have with this thing. Ideal for stuff like this. I just like it. Get some really nice, I would say unlaboured. I don't really like laboured paintings, which is probably, I really appreciate like the skill that people have when they do very photorealistic paintings. I really do, and it's something that I kind of used to strive for, but doing more stuff with oils and acrylics, I really like the painty side of it. I want it to look painted. I don't want it to look photographic copy. I can do that, and I can do that with all my portrait stuff, but you want it to have the feeling of, you know, someone's enjoyed doing it. It's been great fun, which is why I really love plein air stuff and going outside at this time of year. Can't be doing that. Well, not for very long anyway. Could probably do a bit in my van if I really set my mind to it, but I don't know. It's doesn't seem so appealing when you're at like 3 degrees and stuff like that, temperature wise, and sitting still for such a long, well, not long time, because obviously outside you've got to do it a bit quicker. It's different than studio work. So I just want this now to come down here because I want to break up some of this darkness. And like I said, this is the dark bits down here, but stuff going on down here, and kind of want it to resonate through painting. I want that nice, like, you can see where the see the line of the water. That's what I mean about those little different brush lines. Just adds that bit of variety and a bit of interest to it. I'm going to break up this line here as well with this because I don't want that to be as hard as it is. It still seems quite hard there. Just a little bit of water though with it. So I just want to get a bit of rhythm going through here, so I'm just going to trail my brush through like that. Just to make it a little bit more cohesive. So if anyone wants a copy of this actual reference photo that I took, or any of the ones that I'm worked from on this channel, then send me a message and I will send you a copy of the photograph so you can actually work alongside or work from it, whatever. I'd like to do a few of these little demos. I think it's quite nice to give it back a little bit and let people have a little bit of an insight. How much more do you need to do, Karen? Well, let's have a look at it from what you guys are seeing, shall we? Try and get up on the stool without wibble wobbling everything. Do I need to do anything to this, to the clouds? If I don't need to, I certainly won't. All for an easy life, eh? Maybe. I don't think I actually do need to do much to that at all. I think what I'm going to do is just put a little bit more white on there though. So for this bit, just because see sparkles sunk in a little bit too much, that this is sort of like little extra bits I may do afterwards. So I'm going to just, after I've let it sit for a little while, I sometimes play about with it a little bit, not too much, just a little bit. I'm going to get a synthetic brush, some white gouache, and I'm going to do some little flicky bits just on the edge of the moonlight, because again, it just gives a little bit of something different. Not too much, I don't want to go wild with it, but just gives a little bit of interest just to that area that could just be a little bit dark. Okay, that'll do for that. I'm not going to do go, like I said, go wild on it, but I'm going to just get my brush and I'm going to work straight from my paint here, and I'm going to whack some proper thick bits on, because what I want here is for this to just bring it a little bit of light down to this corner, and it's not happening if there's too much water with it. This whole edge here, like this, there's a few bits there that I kind of pre-loaded earlier. So looking forward to getting a little bit more sunshine so I can go out on my motorbike and stop and do some plein air paintings. See if I can get those filmed and uploaded as well. Hence why my channel is called Petrol and Paint. So yeah, sometimes you just need to put a little bit of extra oomph into it afterwards. So always worth sitting on it for a little bit. And having another look a bit later and just seeing where you need to put a few extra highlights and stuff like that. But like I said, some people will use masking fluid. It's not my bag, because I really hope I haven't stuck my head under the camera too much. I need to put a barrier to stop myself doing that. Yeah, some people will use masking fluid. I have started using a little bit of tape, only to show you a bit of a variety of techniques as much as anything. I think I probably do it by choice, but just to show there's a few ways of doing it. But like I said, I like this bit. This to me brings it to life. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but you know, if it's something that you like doing and it's the way you paint, c'est la vie and all that. Let me know if you prefer to use masking fluid. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't float my boat. I find it a bit artificial. You know, how can you get those lovely flowing and fluid lines with masking fluid? Maybe I need to play around with it a bit more. No. If you've got any masking fluid tips, let me know. If you're the biggest masking fluid fan in the world, let me know. Maybe the way I've used it has just been wrong, which it possibly could be, because like I said, I've never really read books on how to do it. I've always just done it and had fun doing it, and that's the main thing, I think. As long as you're having fun, keep at it, because if it's not fun, what's the point? What's the point of anything if it's not fun? I'm now just going in with a few stronger colours just to add some add a little bit of oomph to it. So some of these places where I've gone over with a bit of white, I'm just going to now top it up with a bit of a colour I want to use. This is like the final bits of the picture. This is where you can ruin it, because sometimes you just need to stop. What I do need to do before I finish, I always do this, is just add a little bit of those colours to the actual gear. So I'm going to just get a bit of turquoise, put a bit of that up there, put a bit of that up there, put a bit of that there. Where else is it? There. Because it can't get reflected unless it's actually up there in the first place, can it? Really? Think about it. So by using a little bit of white gouache with the watercolour itself, I feel kind of gouacheifying my watercolours here. But, you know, the gouache or ink would have been, like I said, the medium I picked wasn't quite right for the colours are really intense, and I don't feel I've quite got the intensity with these, with the paint, that I would have liked to have got, because there's some amazing colours there that I actually just don't have in my colour palette. So a wee bit of red in there, we could put some of that in because that always looks nice. So we can write that up there. And that can kind of start off the violets and stuff up there. I think it was, so let's see if we can do that with the purple, make that beautiful. I don't think I can, I think that needs a bit of red with it as well. See now, as soon as I start putting that with it, I start losing that vibrancy. That's the trouble. That is the trouble, my darlings, with I don't know, people paint with watercolours because they're beautiful and subtle. I don't think it's too bad on the grand scale of it. And it was different, you know, can't say it's my normal to do evening paintings, so something a bit different for me, which is always, I quite like doing things like that, out of my comfort zone, you know. We're going to be doing some paint with me classes soon, so if anyone wants to sign up to those, let me know. This is just the, like I said, the final stages really, and it's just giving a little bit of interest to the darker areas that could get a bit lost, and you need the darks to make the lights, but I don't want it to be too bleak. How's that? I am leaving that stripe down there because I quite like that. Now if I need to add any more dark, let's have a little quick look. I don't think I do, because I think if I add any more dark, it'll be too overpowering if I squint. It's got quite a nice value to it. She says, let's have a look. Boats, good lord, I nearly forgotten to put any boats in the harbour. See? Right, so for my boats, I'm going to keep them pretty simple. I'm going to use the old fave bit of Payne's Grey. I'm going to add a bit of neutral tint because the boats are really quite dark. And they're just going to be little, again, little suggestions. There's these are here. Need that a bit darker because it's this is my boats. I'm looking to see where they are. Like I said, there quite often isn't that many in the harbour this time of year because people don't want to get them nailed by the storms and stuff, so a lot of them get removed, come back again for the summer. All the day trip boats are out, I'd imagine by now. People paint them up, do the work on them. Grandad's boat used to be up on the wharf there, over here. So I'm just keeping these as just little dark shapes here. I could highlight a little bit on the top, I might do that. There's a couple up here, actually, that'd be quite handy to have one there, because that just breaks up that line there a little bit. So I just don't like to have, and this is, I don't know if it's just me, but I just don't like to have really long straight solid lines with nothing in them. So even if there's not a boat there, I may just put one there as well. A little one there. Don't need anything at the very end. And we have like the little small tenders. Okay, so a few boats just break it up a little bit, don't they? It's quite nice. Quite like that, yes. Okay, so I'm just going to have a little look and see if I need to do any extra little bits of lineage. So I'll use like pasty paint now, so it's like Marmite sort of consistency with some fat and thin brush lines going across there. This is quite apologise for this one taking longer, but there was quite a lot of work in this one. So, like I said about the different brush marks, this is more, it's not a completely dry brush, but it is drier brush. And it's nice to see that variety, you know, because you don't want to see everything exactly the same. As it comes down here, you get a few more stronger lines of the side lines. Some of these are a bit thicker. I don't go quiet, it's me concentrating, I haven't gone to sleep. And I think all we have left to do, really, is to sign somehow. So, because this is a dark painting, I'm going to sign it in white down in the corner. See if we can get the signature in the first time. There we go. And not that you want to waste the paint. Get that off the brush. is, I don't think I'm going to change a huge amount on this, but I'll take a photograph of it when it's completely dry. I'm not going to do anything else to the sky, that can stay as is, because if I start going up there, that'll be a whole nother can of worms. So we will leave that alone, and let this sit for a little while, I think. And oh, we were going to do the, sorry, every time I say it's about finished, I'm just going to do some highlights on top of the boat, and I'm going to use a little bit of my white gouache mixed with a bit of the kind of Naples yellowy stuff, I think, because it's not really, there's no white being reflected off the top, but there are, it just gives a little bit of definition here. To say, oh yeah, look, they're boats. There's things going on, they're not just black blobs. They're just reflecting off the lights that are on the pier. One there. I think there's one there. One there. There's just a little bit of, just gives a little bit of extra interest there. And there we have it. That's so IVES Christmas lights and Smeaton's Pier. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you'd like to like and subscribe, give us a thumbs up. My name's Karen Gilmore and my channel is Petrol and Paint. Thank you.